The galaxy was burning and nobody knew how to stop it. In the great council chamber of Nexus Prime, representatives from 47 different worlds stood in silence. The holographic display at the center showed red markers spreading across star systems like a disease. Each red marker meant death. Billions of lives lost. Entire civilizations turned to dust. High Arbiter Velthar, a being made of living crystal, watched the display with cold calculation. The Krell swarm had returned after 100 years of silence, and they were hungry. 3 colony worlds had already fallen. The distress signals had stopped coming 2 days ago. Fleet Commander Raxim slammed his massive fist on the table. The Torgathi warrior stood over 3 meters tall, his gray skin covered in battle scars. "We must strike back. Send the entire defense fleet to stop them before they reach the core worlds." "We already tried that," a small voice said. "It belonged to Ambassador Nira of Miros, a species that valued peace above all else. The defense fleet engaged them at the Thanex system. Only 12 ships returned out of 300. The council chamber erupted in panic. Species that had never known fear suddenly understood what it felt like. For 3 centuries, the Galactic Council had maintained peace. They had rules for everything, procedures, protocols. But none of that mattered against the Krell. Velthar raised a crystalline hand for silence. "We need to search for any military assets within range of the Thanex system. Check every database, every registered vessel. We need help, and we need it now." Deep in the military command center below the council chamber, officers worked frantically at their stations. They scanned star charts, checked fleet positions, sent messages to distant outposts. Most of the military power was concentrated around the core worlds, far from where it was needed. A junior officer named Crix noticed something odd on his sensor display. He almost dismissed it as an error, but something made him look twice. There was a gravitational anomaly near the edge of the Sol system. The Sol system was under quarantine, home to a primitive species that had barely discovered fire according to their records. "Sir," Crix called to his commander, "I have an unusual reading near the quarantined Sol system." "The human system?" The commander walked over. "That's impossible. They're centuries away from space travel. It's probably just a comet or asteroid cluster." But Crix ran the numbers again. "Sir, the mass reading is too large for natural phenomena, and it's stationary, hiding in the shadow of one of their outer planets." The commander stared at the data. Protocol said they should send a probe to investigate, but Protocol also said never to disturb a quarantined world. He made a decision. Send a stealth probe. Maximum caution. If there's really something there, we need to know what it is. The probe took 6 hours to reach the outer edge of the Sol system. It drifted past massive gas giants and fields of ice. Its sensors penetrated the darkness, searching for the anomaly. When it finally found the target, the probe's AI systems struggled to process what it was seeing. A ship. But not just any ship. The vessel was enormous, stretching 10 kilometers from bow to stern. Its hull was dark gray, covered in armor plating that looked thick enough to stop a meteor strike. Strange symbols marked its sides, and a blue and green planet emblem stood out on the hull. Weapon ports lined its surface like the scales of a great beast. Smaller craft surrounded it, moving in precise formations. The probe transmitted its findings back to Nexus Prime. In the council chamber, silence fell when the images appeared on the main display. High Arbiter Velthar's crystalline form flickered with confused light patterns. Fleet Commander Raxim's jaw hung open. Ambassador Nira clutched her chest in shock. "What is that?" someone whispered. "Run analysis," Velthar commanded. "Cross-reference with all known ship designs." The computers worked for several minutes. Finally, results appeared. No match found in any database. Hull configuration is unknown. Weapon systems are unknown. Power signature is unknown. Origin possibly from the 3rd planet of the Sol system, Earth. "Impossible," Raxim said. "We classified them as pre-contact civilization. Our last survey said they were still using chemical rockets for short orbital flights." "That was only 50 years ago." "Apparently," Velthar said slowly, "we were wrong. Send a message to that vessel. We need to know who built it and why it's there." Far beyond Neptune's orbit in the cold darkness of space, Captain Kang Dae-ho stood on the bridge of the UESC Indomitable. He was a man of 53 years with gray touching his temples and lines around his eyes from years of command. His uniform was simple and practical, dark blue with silver rank insignia. "Captain," said Commander Yoon Hanul from the communication station, We're receiving a transmission from Nexus Prime. They know we're here. Kang nodded calmly. He had expected this. For 5 years, the Indomitable had maintained position in the outer system, watching and waiting. Earth's quantum sensors had been monitoring galactic communications since the day a Council probe crashed in the Pacific Ocean 50 years ago. They knew about the Krell. They knew the galaxy was in trouble. What does the message say? Kang asked. Yoon read from her screen. They're demanding to know our identity and purpose. They sound scared. They should be scared, said Lieutenant Huang Subin from the pilot station. The young woman was barely 25, but she was the best pilot Earth had ever produced. The Krell are heading toward their core worlds. At current speed, they'll reach the populated sectors in less than a week. Dr. Choi Minji looked up from her science station. She was the ship's chief scientist, a brilliant woman who had spent years studying the alien technology Earth had recovered. Captain Admiral Park is sending new orders from Lunar Command. Kang touched his command console and a message appeared. He read it silently, then looked around at his crew. They were watching him, waiting. These men and women represented the best of Earth. They had trained in secret for this moment. The moment when humanity would step onto the galactic stage. The Admiral has given us authorization to intervene, Kang said. The Galactic Council is losing the war against the Krell. If we don't help, millions will die. Engineer Nam Tae-yang, a gruff man in his 60s who maintained the ship's experimental systems, spoke up. Sir, once we reveal ourselves, there's no going back. The galaxy will know about us. They'll have questions we might not want to answer. I know, Kang said, but this is why we built the Indomitable. Not to hide forever, but to be ready when we were needed. The time has come. He turned to Commander Yoon. Send a response to the Galactic Council. Tell them we're aware of their crisis. Tell them we're coming to help. What should I say when they ask who we are? Yoon asked. Kang thought for a moment. Tell them we're from Earth and tell them we've been watching for a long time. The bridge crew moved into action. Lieutenant Huang began plotting a course to the Thanix system. Engineer Nam powered up the quantum slip drive, Earth's secret faster-than-light engine. Medical Officer Lee Soo-young prepared the infirmary for potential casualties. Intelligence Officer Baek Ji-ho compiled everything they knew about the Krell from intercepted galactic communications. Course plotted and ready. Captain, Huang reported. Kang settled into his command chair. Through the forward viewport, he could see the distant stars. Somewhere out there, people were dying. Somewhere out there, the galaxy was waiting for a miracle. All hands, this is the captain, Kang announced over the ship-wide intercom. We're about to make first contact with an alien civilization. This is the moment humanity has prepared for. We're going to show them what Earth is capable of. We're going to show them that humans don't run from a fight. Battle stations, everyone. Let's make history. The Indomitable's massive engines ignited, burning like a new star in the darkness. The Supercarrier began to move, leaving its hiding place behind Neptune. Inside, a crew of 3,000 men and women from Earth prepared for war. In the Council chamber at Nexus Prime, sensors detected the Earth ship's sudden movement. They're accelerating, an officer reported. Speed is increasing beyond normal parameters. They're moving faster than any known vessel. High Arbiter Velthar watched the display. Where are they going? Based on their trajectory, they're heading for the Thanix system, sir, where the Krell are attacking. For the first time in 300 years of peace, the Galactic Council realized they were not alone in the universe. Somewhere in the darkness, humanity had been building, preparing, and watching. Now they were coming forward. The galaxy would never be the same. 3 days after the Battle of Thanix, the Indomitable approached Nexus Prime. Captain Kang Dae-ho stood on his bridge, watching the massive space station grow larger on the view screen. It was an impressive structure, built over centuries by dozens of species working together. Thousands of ships docked there, representing every member of the Galactic Council. They certainly know how to build big, Commander Yoon Han-nul said from her station. But I notice most of those ships look more like luxury cruisers than warships. 300 years of peace will do that, Dr. Choi Minji said. She had spent the last 3 days studying everything she could about galactic politics. They've forgotten how to fight. Or maybe they never really knew. Not the way we do. Intelligence Officer Baek Ji-ho looked up from his console. Captain, we're receiving docking instructions. They want us to berth at the military section of the station. There are also about 500 different news agencies requesting interviews. Kang shook his head. No interviews, not yet. We speak to the council first, then we'll decide how much to tell everyone else. The Indomitable docked smoothly, its massive bulk settling into a berth designed for the largest warships, but even in that space it looked dangerous and out of place. The council's ships were elegant and streamlined. The Earth Supercarrier was a blunt instrument, built for war and nothing else. Kang selected his landing party carefully. Commander Yoon would accompany him, along with Dr. Choi and Lieutenant Huang Subin. Engineer Nam Tae-yang wanted to come, but someone had to stay with the ship. The old engineer grumbled but accepted his orders. As they walked through the docking tunnel toward the station, Lieutenant Huang whispered, "Sir, do you think they'll try anything hostile?" "No," Kang said. "They need us too much. But they're afraid of us, and fear makes people do stupid things. Stay alert." The greeting party waiting at the airlock was impressive. High Arbiter Velthar stood at the center, their crystalline form refracting the station's lights. Beside them was Fleet Commander Raxim, the massive Torgathi warrior studying the humans with intense interest. Ambassador Nira of Miros was there too, her small form a contrast to Raxim's bulk. "Captain Kang," Velthar said formally, "welcome to Nexus Prime. On behalf of the Galactic Council, I thank you for your intervention at Thanix. You saved millions of lives." Kang bowed slightly, a gesture of respect. "We did what was necessary. The Krell were a threat to everyone, including Earth." "We have many questions," Velthar continued. "Perhaps we should move this conversation to the Council chamber." The walk through Nexus Prime was revealing. The station was beautiful, full of art and culture from dozens of species. Gardens grew under artificial suns. Music played in public spaces. But Kang noticed something else. There were very few security measures, few guards. The Council had built a paradise and assumed it would last forever. The Council chamber was enormous, with seats for representatives from all 47 member species. But today only a few dozen were present for this special session. The humans were led to a platform at the center, surrounded by aliens on all sides. High Arbiter Velthar called the session to order. "We are gathered to address the matter of Earth and humanity. 3 days ago, an Earth vessel appeared and defeated an enemy that had destroyed our defense fleet. This raises many questions. Captain Kang, how long has Earth possessed faster-than-light travel?" Kang stood tall, his voice carrying through the chamber. "About 50 years. The chamber erupted in shocked voices. Velthar raised a hand for silence. 50 years? Our last survey of Earth was 53 years ago. We classified your species as pre-contact, centuries away from spaceflight. Your survey was incomplete, Dr. Choi said, stepping forward. 53 years ago, one of your automated probes malfunctioned and crashed in Earth's Pacific Ocean. We recovered it. We studied its technology, and we built on it. You reverse-engineered our technology? Fleet Commander Raxim's voice was a growl. That's a violation of first contact protocols. Your protocols don't apply to us, Commander Yoon said firmly. We didn't ask to be surveyed. We didn't ask for your protection. You assumed we were primitive and left us alone. We used that time to develop. Ambassador Nira spoke up, her voice gentle. But why hide? Why not announce yourselves and ask to join the council? Kang looked around the chamber before answering. Because we watched you for decades. We intercepted your communications. We studied your society, and we realized you weren't ready for humanity. We weren't ready. Velthar's crystalline form flashed with indignation. We are the Galactic Council. We have maintained peace for 3 centuries. Yes, Kang said. And that peace made you soft. Your military tactics are outdated. Your weapons are inefficient. You've forgotten how to fight because you've never had to really struggle. Humanity clawed its way to the top of a hostile world. We had to fight for everything. That makes us different. The chamber fell silent. Finally, Raxim spoke. You're saying we're weak. I'm saying you're unprepared, Kang corrected. There's a difference. You have the resources and intelligence to be strong. You've just forgotten how. A representative from a species called the Vorgathi stood up angrily. This is insulting. You come here, use weapons we consider barbaric, and lecture us about strength? Your nuclear weapons could destroy entire planets. Your kinetic weapons are indiscriminate. These are tools of savages. Lieutenant Huang stepped forward before Kang could stop her. Those tools saved your species at Thanix. Or did you forget that part? The Vorgathi representative started to respond, but Raxim held up a massive hand. The human is right. We can debate philosophy later. Right now, we need to address practical matters. Captain Kang, Earth has revealed itself. What are your intentions? Kang took a breath before answering. This was the crucial moment. Earth doesn't seek to join your council. Not yet. We're not asking for anything from you. But we share this galaxy. If threats like the Krell appear, we'll help defend it. In return, we ask that you don't interfere with Earth's development or expansion. Give us space to grow. And if we refuse? Velthar asked. Then we'll take that space anyway, Commander Yoon said bluntly. But it would be better if we cooperated. We can learn from each other. The chamber debated for hours. Some representatives wanted to welcome Earth immediately. Others wanted to isolate the humans, keep them contained. A few even suggested military action, though Raxim shut that down quickly. Anyone who wants to fight the humans can volunteer for the first wave, the Torgathi commander said dryly. I watched them destroy 4,000 Krell ships. I'll wait for the second wave, thank you. During a break in the proceedings, Raxim approached Kang privately. The massive warrior towered over the human captain, but there was respect in his eyes. Captain, I've commanded fleets for 40 years. I've never seen tactics like yours. Your willingness to take risks, to use weapons we consider primitive, to sacrifice comfort for effectiveness. It's remarkable. Thank you, Kang said cautiously. I want to learn from you, Raxim continued. Not your technology. Your mindset. The Torgathi pride themselves on military excellence, but you've shown me we've become stagnant. How would you feel about a training exercise? My fleet against your ship. Simulated combat, no real weapons. Just to see how we measure up. Kang considered this. It was clearly a test, but also an opportunity. When? 3 days from now. The Caraxes Nebula. It's a perfect location for war games. Dense with interference, hard to navigate. A true test of skill. How many ships will you bring? 20 of my finest warships. Battle-tested crews. The best the Torgathi have to offer. Raxim smiled, showing teeth. I want to see if your victory at Thanix was skill or luck. Kang met the alien warrior's gaze without flinching. You'll find out. We accept your challenge. After the break, the council reconvened. High Arbiter Velthar announced their decision. The Galactic Council has voted. We will offer Earth Associate membership. Not full membership, but a recognition of your presence and sovereignty. You'll have observers at council sessions. We'll establish trade relations and cultural exchanges. But there are conditions. Name them, Kang said. First, Earth must share basic information about your military capabilities. We need to know what we're dealing with. Second, you must agree to defend council worlds if they're threatened. Third, you must accept that some technologies are restricted for good reason. We cannot allow unrestricted nuclear proliferation or certain dangerous research. Kang looked at his team. Commander Yoon nodded slightly. Dr. Choi gave a small shrug that meant the terms were acceptable. Lieutenant Huang just grinned. Earth accepts these conditions with one modification, Kang said. We'll share basic information about our capabilities, but the details of our technology remain classified. You'll know what we can do, but not how we do it. Fair? Velthar's crystalline form pulsed as they considered. Fair enough. Welcome to the galactic community, Captain Kang. Formally, the council session ended with mixed reactions. Some representatives were happy. Others were nervous. But everyone understood that the galaxy had changed. Earth was no longer a hidden observer. They were a player now. As the humans returned to the Indomitable, Commander Yoon said, That went better than expected. They actually agreed to most of our terms. The Caraxes Nebula was beautiful and deadly. Clouds of gas stretched for millions of kilometers, glowing with colors that had no names in human language. Radiation storms crackled through the clouds. Electromagnetic interference made sensors nearly useless. It was the perfect place for a war game. Captain Kang De-ho stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, studying the tactical display. Somewhere in that nebula, Fleet Commander Raxim waited with 20 Torgathi warships. Each one was a proven combat vessel with experienced crews. Against them stood one Earth supercarrier. Sensors are barely working, Intelligence Officer Baek Ji-ho reported. The nebula is creating too much interference. We can see maybe 10 kilometers in any direction. Beyond that, everything is static. Same problem they have, Commander Yoon Hanul said from her tactical station. This levels the playing field. They can't use their numbers advantage if they can't coordinate. That's what I'm counting on, Kang said. He activated the ship-wide intercom. All hands, this is the captain. In a few minutes, we enter the nebula for the war game. Remember, this is simulated combat. Our weapons will register as hits but won't actually damage their ships. But everything else is real. The tactics are real. The flying is real. This is our chance to show the galaxy what Earth can do. Make it count. On Nexus Prime, the entire Galactic Council had gathered to watch. High Arbiter Velthar sat at the center of the viewing chamber, surrounded by representatives from every member species. Holographic displays showed the nebula from multiple angles. Observers had placed sensors throughout the combat zone to track the exercise. This should be interesting, Ambassador Nira said quietly. 20 against 1. Even with their impressive showing at Thanix, those are difficult odds. The Torgathi are the finest warriors in the council, another representative said. Fleet Commander Raxum has never lost a war game. Never. This will prove whether the humans' victory was skill or just luck against a mindless swarm. Velthar said nothing, but their crystalline form pulsed with anticipation. In 3 days, they had learned more about humanity than decades of observation had revealed. These newcomers were aggressive, creative, and dangerous. But were they good enough to defeat a coordinated fleet of experienced warriors? The Indomitable entered the nebula, immediately disappearing into the glowing clouds. Inside the gas, visibility dropped to almost nothing. The bridge lights dimmed to red, giving everything an eerie glow. Engineering, Kang called down. How are we doing? Engineer Nam Taeyang's voice came back gruff and confident. I've modified our sensors to filter out most of the interference. We can see about 20 kilometers now, better than anyone else will manage. I also made some adjustments to the engines. We can move quieter than a whisper in this soup. Excellent work, Kang said. He turned to Commander Yoon. Deploy the drones. Small reconnaissance drones launched from the Indomitable, spreading out through the nebula like invisible eyes. They were tiny and silent, designed to gather information without being detected. Within minutes, they started sending back data. Contact, Beck announced. Picking up engine signatures. 7 ships in formation, grid coordinates Alpha 7. Moving in search pattern. Mark their position, Kang ordered. But don't engage. Let them pass. The Torgathi ships glided through the nebula, their sensors probing for the Earth vessel. They didn't find it. The Indomitable had hidden in a sensor shadow, using the natural radiation to mask its presence. Aboard Raxum's flagship, the Torgathi commander studied his tactical display with frustration. Where are they? A ship that size should be easy to find. The nebula is interfering with our sensors, Commander, his first officer said. And the humans may have technology we don't understand. They surprised us before. True, Raxum acknowledged.
Spread the fleet out.
Standard search pattern. They have to be somewhere in this nebula. When we find them, we converge and overwhelm them with firepower. On the Indomitable's bridge, Commander Yoon smiled. They're doing exactly what we predicted. Spreading out to search. That makes them vulnerable. Time to go hunting, Kang said. Helm, take us toward the nearest isolated target. Silent running. Tactical, prepare for hit-and-run attack. We strike hard and disappear before they can respond. Lieutenant Huang Subin was in her fighter, docked in the hangar bay and ready to launch. Captain, let me take a squadron out. We can harry their formations, keep them off balance. Not yet, Kang replied. I want them to think we're just one ship. When they commit to attacking us, then you launch. Surprise is our biggest advantage. The Indomitable moved through the nebula like a ghost. Its modified engines left almost no signature. The reconnaissance drones guided it toward an isolated Torgathi cruiser. The alien vessel was searching, its sensors sweeping back and forth, but it never looked behind itself. Range 5 kilometers, Yoon reported. Target locked. Simulated weapons ready. Fire, Kang ordered. The Indomitable's railguns unleashed a full salvo. In the simulation, it appeared as bright energy signatures on everyone's displays. The Torgathi cruiser's defense systems registered multiple hits across its hull. Alarms would be blaring on that ship right now, telling the crew they had been destroyed. Then the Indomitable vanished back into the nebula before the rest of the Torgathi fleet could respond. On Nexus Prime, the observers watched in amazement. Did you see that? Someone whispered. They hit and disappeared in seconds. The Torgathi didn't even know what happened. Raxum stared at his tactical display in disbelief. One of his ships was eliminated and he hadn't even seen the enemy. All ships, close formation. Stay together. They're using hit-and-run tactics. But Commander, his first officer protested, if we bunch up, we reduce our search area. Better to search slowly than lose ships one by one, Raxum growled. They're making us fight on their terms. We need to change the game. Over the next hour, the pattern repeated. The Indomitable would appear from the nebula, strike a target, and vanish before the Torgathi could respond. Sometimes it fired from long range. Sometimes it got close and unleashed devastating salvos. But it never stayed in one place long enough to be cornered. Dr. Choi Min-ji watched from her station on the bridge, analyzing the Torgathi response patterns. They're getting frustrated. Their formations are tightening. They're becoming predictable. Good, Kang said. Predictable opponents are vulnerable opponents. Commander Yoon, I think it's time we showed them something new. Launch the decoy drones. New drones deployed from the Indomitable, but these were different. They were designed to mimic the Supercarrier's engine signature. Suddenly, the Torgathi sensors detected multiple contacts that looked like the Earthship. Aboard his flagship, Raxim's tactical officer called out, "Commander, we have 5 contacts that match the human ship's signature. They're surrounding us. Impossible," Raxim said. "They only have one ship. These must be decoys, but which one was real?" He made a decision. Split the fleet. Send 4 ships to check each contact. Reserve 4 ships with me as a reaction force. Move. The Torgathi fleet divided, rushing toward the different contacts. 3 of the signatures turned out to be decoys, but 2 were real threats. One was the Indomitable itself. The other was Lieutenant Huang and her fighter squadron, which had launched during the confusion. Hawk Squadron, weapons free, Huang transmitted to her pilots. Hit them fast and hard. Don't give them time to think. The Earth fighters were small and fast, using the nebula's cover to maximum advantage. They swooped in on a group of 4 Torgathi ships, fired their simulated missiles, and vanished before the alien vessels could target them properly. 2 more Torgathi ships registered as eliminated. On Nexus Prime, the observers were leaning forward in their seats. This wasn't a battle. It was a masterclass in asymmetric warfare. The humans were outnumbered, but they were winning through superior tactics and unconventional thinking. "The humans fight like nothing we've ever seen," Ambassador Nira said softly. "They're not trying to match strength with strength. They're exploiting every weakness, every gap in coordination." "They're fighting smart," Velthar agreed. "Perhaps that's the real difference. We've become so focused on fair fights and honorable combat that we've forgotten war isn't supposed to be fair." Raxim realized his mistake too late. By splitting his fleet, he had given the humans exactly what they wanted. Isolated targets, he tried to regroup, calling his remaining ships back together, but the Indomitable was already moving. "They're trying to consolidate," Commander Yoon reported. 6 ships converging on Raxim's position. "Then let's help them," Kang said with a slight smile. "Helm, plot a course directly toward their convergence point. Maximum speed. Tactical. Prepare for full broadside attack." The Indomitable emerged from the nebula at high speed, heading straight toward the gathering Torgathi fleet. It looked like a suicide run. The alien ships prepared to unleash everything they had. Then, at the last moment, the Supercarrier used its quantum slip drive. It was a micro-jump. Barely a fraction of a light year, but it was enough. The Indomitable vanished from in front of the Torgathi fleet and reappeared behind them, already firing. The simulated weapons lit up space. Railgun salvos, missile launches, and point defense systems all firing in perfect coordination. The Krell swarm turned toward the Indomitable like a living ocean changing direction. Thousands of bioships moved as one organism, their hulls pulsing with organic light. They had never known defeat. Every civilization they encountered had fallen before them. They saw the Earthship as just another victim. They were wrong. "All weapons charged and ready," Commander Yoon Hanul reported from her tactical station. Her fingers moved across the controls, designating targets. Railgun batteries 1 through 8 ready to fire. Missile tubes loaded. Point defense systems online. Captain Kang Dae-ho watched the main view screen as the Krell approached. The alien ships were ugly things, all curves and growths like diseased flesh floating in space. They moved without formation, just a vast swarm rushing forward to overwhelm their prey. "Range?" Kang asked calmly. 200,000 kilometers and closing fast, Yoon replied. "They'll be in their weapon range in 90 seconds. "We'll fire first," Kang said. "Target the leading edge of their formation. Railgun batteries fire at will." The Indomitable's first shots were almost invisible. Tungsten slugs launched from electromagnetic rails at incredible speeds, accelerated to a significant fraction of light speed. They were just metal rods, nothing fancy. The Galactic Council had abandoned, kinetic weapons centuries ago as primitive and inefficient. The first salvos hit the Krell swarm like hammers striking. Eggs bioships exploded as the tungsten slugs punched through their organic armor. The kinetic energy was so intense that entire vessels simply came apart, torn into pieces by the impacts. The Krell had tough hides that could regenerate from energy weapon damage. But solid metal traveling at relativistic speeds didn't care about regeneration. On the bridge, Intelligence Officer Beck Jiho watched his sensors in amazement. Direct hits on 47 targets, all destroyed or critically damaged. The Krell are not adapting to kinetic weapons. Keep firing, Kang ordered. Don't give them time to think. The railguns fired again and again, each volley destroying dozens of Krell ships. But the swarm was vast. For every ship destroyed, 10 more took its place. They were getting closer. Launch fighters, Kang commanded. In the hangar bays, Lieutenant Huang Subin led her squadron into space. Hawk Squadron consisted of 20 fighters, small craft that looked like metal arrows with engines. They used chemical rockets for thrust, an ancient technology that the Council had long since replaced with more elegant systems. But chemical rockets had advantages. They were simple, reliable, and incredibly powerful. As Huang's fighter burst from the hangar, its main engines ignited with a fury that pushed her back into her seat. The inertial dampeners kept her conscious, but barely. Hawk Squadron, follow me, she transmitted. Form up and prepare for attack run. Remember your training. Speed and precision. Hit them fast and get out before they can respond. The fighters screamed toward the Krell swarm at speeds that would have terrified any Council pilot. They moved like nothing the galaxy had seen before, using bursts of thrust to change direction in ways that defied expectations. The Krell tried to target them, but the Earth fighters were too fast and too unpredictable. Huang locked onto a large Krell bioship and fired her missiles. Small but deadly, each missile carried a nuclear warhead. The Council had banned nuclear weapons as barbaric instruments of terror. Earth had refined them into precise tactical tools. The missiles struck the Krell ship and detonated. White light bloomed in space as nuclear fire consumed the target. When the light faded, nothing remained but expanding plasma. Target destroyed, Huang reported. All fighters engage at will. Make every shot count. The battle became chaos. The Krell swarm surrounded the Indomitable, trying to overwhelm it with numbers. They fired their bioplasma weapons, streams of organic acid that could melt through standard armor. The Supercarrier shields deflected most of it, but some got through. On the bridge, damage reports started coming in. Hull breach on Deck 9, an officer called out. Emergency bulkhead sealing. Casualties reported. Medical teams respond, Kang ordered. He turned to Commander Yoon. Deploy the drone swarms. Yoon entered commands into her console. From ports along the Indomitable's hull, thousands of small drones launched into space. Each one was barely larger than a human fist, but they moved with purpose. The drones carried small explosive charges and simple AI programming. They swarmed toward the Krell ships like a plague of mechanical locusts. The Krell had numbers on their side, but now so did Earth. The drones flew into the organic ship's weapon ports and engine sections seeking weak points. Then they detonated. Hundreds of small explosions rippled through the Krell formation. Ships that could regenerate from energy weapon damage found it harder to repair physical trauma from inside their own hulls. Fleet Commander Raxim watched the battle from Nexus Prime with growing disbelief. The massive Torgathi warrior had fought in countless battles, but he had never seen anything like this. How are they doing this? One ship against thousands? They're using primitive weapons, an analyst reported. Kinetic projectiles, nuclear devices, chemical propulsion, technologies we abandoned ages ago because they seemed inefficient. Inefficient? Raxim growled. Look at the results. Those primitive weapons are destroying the Krell faster than anything we've used. High Arbiter Velthar's crystalline form pulsed with confused patterns. Why do their fighters move so erratically? No pilot could survive those acceleration forces. According to our scans, another analyst said, they're using inertial dampeners pushed to maximum capacity. Their pilots are enduring forces that would kill most of our species. They're sacrificing safety for performance. Insane, someone whispered. No, Raxim said slowly. Brilliant. They accept risk as part of warfare. They don't seek comfort. They seek victory. Back in the battle, the Krell were learning that humanity was different. These new enemies didn't fight with elegant energy weapons and careful tactics. They fought with brutal efficiency and savage creativity. Every time the Krell adapted to one weapon system, the humans switched to another. Engineer Nam Tae-yang worked frantically in the engineering section, keeping the ship's systems running despite the damage. Explosions rocked the hull. Power conduits overloaded, but Nam and his team worked miracles, rerouting power and patching damage faster than it occurred. "We're taking heavy fire on the port side," Nam reported to the bridge. "Shield generators are at 60% capacity. Can you give me more power?" Kang asked. "Sir, I can give you more power or I can keep the ship from exploding." "Pick one," Nam said bluntly. Kang actually smiled. "Keep us from exploding, engineer. I'd appreciate that." Medical Officer Lee Soo-young's infirmary was filling with wounded crew members. Burns from plasma leaks, broken bones from impacts, concussions from the constant shaking. She moved from patient to patient with calm efficiency, her staff working beside her. A young ensign was brought in with severe burns. Lee immediately began treatment, her hand steady despite the chaos. "You're going to be fine," she told him gently. "Just stay with me." The ensign managed a weak smile. "Are we winning, Doctor?" Lee glanced at a status display showing the battle. The Indomitable was surrounded by debris from destroyed Krell ships. The swarm was thinning. "Yes," she said. "We're winning." Lieutenant Huang and her fighters were deep in the Krell formation now, hunting the larger command ships. These biovessels coordinated the swarm, directing the smaller ships. Take them out and the whole formation would become disorganized. "Hawk 3 on my wing," Huang transmitted. "We're going after that big one at coordinates Mark 7. Her wingman, Dong-hyun, acknowledged. The two fighters dove toward a massive Krell ship that looked like a bloated tick. It was firing at the Indomitable with multiple plasma weapons, pouring acid into the Supercarrier's shields. Huang armed her last nuclear missile, targeting the command node. "Firing in 3, 2, 1, Fox 3. The missile streaked away, its engine burning bright. The Krell command ship tried to shoot it down, but Dong-hyun was providing cover fire, his own weapons distracting the bioship's defenses. The missile struck dead center. The nuclear explosion was beautiful and terrible. The Krell command ship disintegrated, and the smaller vessels around it suddenly became confused. They stopped moving in coordination and started firing randomly. "Command ship destroyed," Huang reported. "The swarm is breaking up." On the Indomitable's bridge, Commander Yoon saw the tactical situation changing. "Captain, the Krell formation is collapsing. They're losing cohesion. Now we press the advantage," Kang said. "All batteries, concentrated fire on the remaining command ships." Lieutenant Huang marked the targets for us. The battle had turned. The Krell, for the first time anyone could remember, were losing. The Supercarrier's railguns picked off the command vessels one by one. Without coordination, the swarm became just a mob of individual ships, easier to destroy. But the Krell didn't retreat. They couldn't. Their biology didn't allow for tactical withdrawal. They fought until they won or died. Today they would die. The final phase of the battle lasted another hour. The Indomitable, despite damage and casualties, methodically destroyed the remaining Krell ships. Hawk Squadron hunted down stragglers. The drone swarms cleaned up the smaller vessels. And slowly, inevitably, the red markers on the tactical display winked out. The journey through quantum slipspace felt like falling through water made of light. Inside the Indomitable, the crew worked at their stations while the ship covered distances that would take conventional vessels days to cross. Captain Kang Dae-ho watched the navigation display as star systems flashed past. Estimated arrival at Thanik system in 4 hours, Lieutenant Huang Subin reported from the helm. Her hands moved across the controls with practiced ease. "The council ships are still trying to hail us, sir. They want to know how we're moving so fast." Commander Yoon Hanul smiled slightly from her position at the tactical station. "They sound confused. Their messages keep asking what kind of drive system we're using." "Don't answer that question," Kang said calmly. "The less they know about our technology, the better. At least for now." In the ship's conference room, Dr. Choi Min-ji was briefing the senior officers about what they were flying into. She stood before a holographic display showing the Galactic Council's structure. The Council is made up of 47 species. They've had peace for 300 years because they follow strict rules about everything. They don't take risks. They don't innovate much anymore. They've become comfortable. "Comfortable gets you killed," Engineer Nam Tae-yang said gruffly. The old engineer had seen too many battles to believe in comfort. "What about these Krell things we're going to fight?" Dr. Choi changed the display to show images of the Krell swarm. The creatures looked like a nightmare made real. Bioorganic ships that moved like insects, millions of them working together as one mind. They're a hive species. They consume everything in their path and use it to make more of themselves. The Galactic Council fought them 100 years ago and barely survived. Now they're back and stronger. Medical Officer Lee Soo-young, a kind-faced woman who had treated every illness and injury on the ship, asked quietly, "How many casualties are we expecting?" "Unknown," Kang said honestly. "This will be Earth's first real battle against an alien species. We've trained for it. We've prepared for it. But we won't know how effective our weapons are until we use them." Back at Nexus Prime, panic was turning into desperate hope. The Earthship was coming to help, but nobody knew what to expect. High Arbiter Velthar had called another emergency session. The council chamber was packed with representatives and military officers. Fleet Commander Raxum stood before the assembly, his massive frame tense with frustration. "We need to know what we're dealing with. This Earthship could be our salvation or another threat. How did they develop faster than light travel without us knowing? Does it matter?" Ambassador Nira asked softly. "They're coming to help when nobody else can. Shouldn't we be grateful?" "Grateful and cautious are not opposites," Velthar said. "Send the Earthship all our tactical data on the Krell. If they're really going to fight, they need to know what they're facing." On the Indomitable's bridge, Intelligence Officer Bayek Jiho received the data package from the Council. He studied it carefully, his analytical mind processing the information. "Captain, the Council is sharing their battle records from previous encounters with the Krell. It makes for grim reading." "Show me the important parts," Kang said. Beck put the data on the main screen. The Krell use bioplasma weapons that eat through conventional armor. Their ships are grown, not built, and they regenerate damage quickly. Energy weapons barely hurt them. The Council's plasma torpedoes only work if they hit the same spot multiple times. The Krell adapt fast and they never run away. They fight until everything is dead or they are. Lieutenant Huang whistled low. "Sounds like a fun party we're heading to." "We have advantages they don't know about," Commander Yoon said. She brought up Earth's weapon systems on a side display. Kinetic railguns that fire solid metal slugs at incredible speeds. Nuclear missiles with blast yields that would horrify the Council. Electromagnetic pulse weapons that should fry their organic neural networks. The Council abandoned these technologies centuries ago as primitive. They're about to learn why that was a mistake. Dr. Choi Min-ji was at her station, preparing first contact protocols when a direct transmission came through. It was High Arbiter Velthar himself. "Earth vessel, this is High Arbiter Velthar of the Galactic Council. We request direct communication with your commander." Kang nodded to Dr. Choi, who opened the channel. A holographic image of Velthar appeared on the bridge. The crystalline being looked like a statue carved from living diamond, light reflecting through their body in complex patterns. "I am Captain Kang Daeho of the United Earth Space Command," Kang said formally. "We received your distress signals about the Krell swarm." Velthar's form flickered with what might have been surprise. "United Earth Space Command, our records indicate Earth is a pre-contact civilization, centuries away from faster-than-light capability." "How is this possible?" "Your records are outdated," Kang said simply. "We've had the ability to reach the stars for some time now. We chose not to announce ourselves. Why?" Velthar's voice carried confusion and a hint of anger. "The protocols exist for a reason. Contact between species must be controlled and gradual to prevent cultural contamination or conflict." Kang allowed himself a small smile. "With respect, Arbiter, we didn't need your permission. Earth develops on its own timeline. We watched your council for years. We learned your languages. We studied your technology. And we waited for the right moment to introduce ourselves." There was a long silence. Finally, Velthar spoke again. "You've been spying on us." "We prefer the term observing," Commander Yoon said from her station. "Regardless of your methods," Velthar said, their crystalline voice cold, "you are entering a war zone. The Krell have destroyed everything we've sent against them. Are you certain you want to involve your species in this conflict?" "We're already involved," Kang said. "We share this galaxy with you, whether you knew it or not. If the Krell aren't stopped, they'll eventually reach Earth. Better to fight them now on our terms." "Very well," Velthar said. "We're sending you updated tactical information. The Krell are approaching the Thanic system with roughly 4,000 individual bioships. Our remaining defense fleet is falling back. They cannot hold. How long until we arrive? Kang asked his helm officer. 2 hours, sir, Lieutenant Huang replied. Kang turned back to the hologram. Tell your fleet to hold position when we arrive. We'll handle the Krell. You'll handle them. Felthar's form pulsed with disbelief. Captain, you have 1 ship against 4,000. That's not bravery, that's suicide. It's not suicide if we win, Kang said. Indomitable out. He gestured to Dr. Choi, who cut the transmission. The bridge was quiet for a moment. Then Engineer Nam spoke up from his station. Sir, did we just promise to fight 4,000 alien warships by ourselves? Yes, Kang said calmly. Do you have a problem with that, Engineer? Nam grinned, showing teeth. No problem at all, sir. Just wanted to make sure I heard correctly. I'll make sure our weapons are ready. The next 2 hours passed quickly. The crew prepared for battle. In the hangar bays, fighter pilots climbed into their craft. These small vessels used chemical rockets and inertial dampeners that pushed the limits of what a human body could endure. They were fast, agile, and deadly. Lieutenant Huang's squadron, callsign Hawk, ran final checks on their fighters. A young pilot named Dong Hyun asked, Lieutenant, is it true we're going to fight thousands of aliens with just our squadron and the Indomitable? That's right, Huang said, pulling on her flight helmet. Everyone nervous? The pilots looked at each other. Then Dong Hyun smiled. Nervous? We've been training our whole lives for this. Let's show these aliens what Earth pilots can do. In the medical bay, Dr. Lee Soo-young prepared for casualties. She had beds ready, supplies organized, and her staff briefed. She hoped she wouldn't need any of it, but hope wasn't a strategy. Preparation was. On the bridge, Intelligence Officer Baek Ji-ho received new data from long-range sensors. Captain, we're detecting debris fields in the Thanex system. Large-scale battle damage. Multiple Council ship signatures going offline. The Krell are already there, Commander Yoon said grimly. Kang stood from his command chair. How many Council ships survived? Sensors show about 50 vessels still active, Beck reported. They're trying to form a defensive line around the 4th planet, but the Krell are cutting through them. Time to arrival? 30 minutes, sir. Kang activated the ship-wide intercom. All hands, this is the captain. In 30 minutes, we're going to exit Quantum Slip in the middle of a war zone. The Krell swarm has destroyed most of the Galactic Defense Fleet. They outnumber us thousands to 1. But we have something they don't have. We have human courage. We have human ingenuity. And we have weapons that will surprise them. This is the moment Earth announces itself to the galaxy. Make it count. Battle stations. Alarms began to sound throughout the ship. Red lights flashed. Crew members who weren't already at their stations ran to their positions. In the hangar bays, fighter launch crews made final preparations. In engineering, Nam Tae-yang and his team ran last-minute checks on every critical system. 10 minutes to exit, Lieutenant Huang announced. On the main view screen, the quantum slip field began to fluctuate. Flashes of normal space appeared through the strange light. Stars became visible, then vanished again.